Pro tip: when riding into an unfamiliar area, plan your fuel before you run out of it. So I was out on the motorcycle the other day, and I said to myself, I think it's time to go on another big epic ride. I got a spare weekend, let's see how many miles I can crank out. Well heck, why don't we just do a whole tour of Canada? Using my handy dandy Harley Davidson ride planner, the trip was going to look something like this. So without further ado, let's get on to the ride. First stop, Green Bay, Wisconsin. Alright, just outside of Green Bay this morning. Left about 3 o'clock, 5 o'clock now. Sun's just coming up. Next stop, Escanaba, Michigan in the Upper Peninsula. Just finally made it to Escanaba, Michigan this morning. Just getting some gas, heading out, and we'll see if we can continue the fun. After doing my best Al Bundy impression by spending as little money as possible and attempting to rearrange the plumbing of the city of Escanaba, it was time to move on. Next stop, St. Ignace. So made it to St. Ignace. After a quick fuel stop in St. Ignace, it was time to take my chances at the Canadian border. Hope it goes better than last year. This is Sault Ste. Marie. Canada is about right over there. We'll be crossing the border here in just a few minutes. Let's see how that goes. The guy with the rubber glove was surprisingly gentle, and it was an uneventful border crossing. Here I am in somewhere near Nowheresville, Ontario, but arrived safely, fueling up, and on to Sudbury. You can look behind me here, you can see maybe the weather's turning a little bit bad. So looks like we can still make Montreal tomorrow. We're gonna give it a shot. For now we're just gonna overnight here in Sudbury and see how it goes. After a good night's rest, it was time to keep the party going to Ottawa. Probably can't tell right now, but just heading into, or just in Ottawa, heading over to Montreal. An unexpected delight in this trip was the car ferry across the St. Lawrence River. Didn't know it was coming, just showed up and the road ran into a barge, so here I go across the water. After loading enough cars on, away we go. Not long after crossing the St. Lawrence River, I nearly ran myself out of fuel. How does the saying go? It's not an adventure until things start going wrong. Well, after that little bit of adventure, it was time to move on to Montreal. Just got here, gonna have a look around. So a couple of things about planning long distance rides. One of them is fuel. You really should look ahead and see where your fuel's at because, well, today for instance, I almost ran myself out of gas, and not for any other reason than I was just stupid. So just because there's been a gas station every 20 miles for the last 300 doesn't mean that the next 75 will have one at all. And if you're close on fuel. Anyway, it was time to throttle up and head down that busy freeway from Montreal to Toronto. Second stop of the day, Port Hope. It's about 8:30 in the morning, going smoothly. Just made it to the other side of Toronto. Everything's holding in there pretty good. And it was on to Port Huron. Made it back to the USA, just in Port Huron, St. Clair. Now here's where the real miracle happens. Despite messing around, taking pictures, grabbing lunch, and a few other things, I still was able to make the 4 o'clock ferry from Muskegon to Milwaukee, which completed the final leg of my venture. The high-speed ferry across Lake Michigan is always a fun ride, and always saves a bunch of time. Well, that's how you turn a short weekend into a really, really long ride. Have fun, ride safe, and we'll see you out there. A couple of motorcycle riders came up produce stand the other day.